scheme.
7 a.m. and it's now time for the Morning Watch with Mr. Stokeley Marshall. Today, the Morning Watch is brought to you by Chris and Charles Investments. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Start the school year right with the Chris and Charles Smart Start Back to School promotion. Borrow up to $3 million. You could win $1 million and nominate your child for a $50,000 grant. Yes, call 876-920-4189 or visit www.chrisandcharles.com for details. Promotion runs August 1, 2023 to September 29, 2023. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the U.K., 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live in the main watch today. Those PR nightmares, those public relations PR nightmares. In the second watch, misunderstanding emoticons or misunderstanding emojis. In our social media question, we ask, how free should free speech be? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We will share your comments later on the program, but first, as I quote,
Good morning, everyone. Today's I quote is an inspirational quote, and it says, if you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way. And this is by Napoleon Hill.
My brother Juka, good morning. I have nothing to add, Nothing to add. I quote.
Nothing at all.
The main watch will be back after this break.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches, Thursdays at 10 p.m. Every first Thursday, listen for words of upliftment from the Lighthouse Assembly with Bishop Rowan Edwards. Every second Thursday at 10 p.m., listen for a word of encouragement from Mojis Ministries International. That's Women of God in Service with Reverend Dr. Elaine Richards. Every third Thursday, receive words of strength and power from Praise Deliverance Ministry with Senior Pastor Fitzroy Carr. Every fourth Thursday, Reverend Leonie Samuels of the Richmond New Testament Church of God in St. Mary shares words of hope. For fifth Thursdays, it's words of inspiration from the New United Bible Way Church of God with Reverend Dr. Jasmine Brown. That's Encounter, presented by the Jamaica Association of Full Gospel Churches every Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Hey, small people!
Listen up. Join us weekdays, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. for the Small People Show with Auntie Colleen. Yes, every day we have something educational and fun for you to enjoy. Plus, on a fifth Friday, you get a chance to hail up your friends and community, and you could win a prize too. That's the Small People Show, where we aim to build characters and empower our small people for the future. Remember to tell a friend and stay for the fun. It's the Small People Show with Auntie Colleen on the family station Love 101. Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the Ministry of Counseling and Prayer of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today, 876-220-6474 or 876-332-7956. It's the telephone counseling and prayer ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. A reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
When I come to the end of myself, Father, carry me.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch. Now, recently there has been what some persons might describe as slips of the tongue, or things that are said that are considered by some persons to be inappropriate. You have had moments when some persons have had to apologize for things that they have said in public. And indicated that things can amount to what are called public relations or PR nightmares. PR. Some might argue, how does this impact free speech? You know, it is a human right to be able to have free speech. But some persons will ask questions in light of the things that are said by others, which are considered to be going a little bit too far. We have as our guest this morning Aaron Buckley. He's a communications strategist, and he is the author and owner of the blog PR Angle. He's also the second vice president of the Association of Christian Communicators and Media. We also have with us Anthony Williams, attorney at law. In fact, I think Mr. Williams will be with us today for both watches. Good morning, Mr. Buckley, and good morning, Mr. Williams.
Morning, Stokeley. Morning, Mr. Williams. Morning to your listeners. Good morning.
Now, jumping right into it, gentlemen, jumping right into it. The recipe for a public relations disaster. And why is it that some persons get in trouble for what they say in public? Starting with you, Mr. Buckley. Any comments, sir?
Yeah, there are a host of reasons why they get into trouble. I'm just going to mention three. The first one is just inadequate preparation. If you're a public speaker, you will need to spend some time deciding beforehand what you're going to say and check for accuracy. In many instances, some of these speakers have PR or some support staff that can do that for them. So what you find happening is that sometimes they don't properly research the topic. They don't look at what are some of the attending issues, and therefore they aren't prepared fully. So that's the first thing, is inadequate preparation. Part of preparing means you need to also anticipate the questions that you may be asked, particularly if it's in relation to addressing the media. You need to at least anticipate some of the questions you may be asked. And then the third thing on that inadequate preparation is use a prepared script or text. Doesn't have to be a full manuscript, but at least jot down the points that you want to say. Lots of times they go there and it's not organized, and so they're jumping all around and get themselves into problems. So inadequate preparation is the first one I would suggest. The second one is, well, this relates to the one I just mentioned, not speaking from the prepared text. A lot of times speakers, once they're there from the text that they have, then they walk into trouble. They say an off-the-cuff remark, and that is when all the preparation by their staff and so on goes awry, because they are off script and saying something that they should not have said. I have nightmare experiences like that. And the third point I would say why I get into trouble is not being cognizant or aware of the indirect audience. In today's world, you're not just speaking to the person before you. There's social media, there's traditional media, so some indirect audience will get that message. But guess what? They're going to get it without the original and immediate context. Context when it comes on to communication. And without the context, then your indirect audience is going to end up getting the thing the wrong way. So I want to mention those three things as part of what's causing people to get into trouble.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buckley. Very, very much, sir. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Williams, any comments in relation to what Mr. Buckley just said, or just in relation to the questions as raised?
Yes, thanks again. I agree entirely with my esteemed co-guest, that is Mr. Buckley, and he speaks about preparation. No.
Recipe.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I think we're here. Well, I wasn't hearing you for a moment, but maybe others were, but I wasn't hearing you for a moment. So you're saying you agree with him entirely?
Yeah, I agree with him entirely, and in particular in relation to preparation, right? Now, there are three things that someone needs to do when you're going to for a speaking engagement. The first thing they need to do is to prepare. The second thing they need to do is to prepare. And the third thing they need to do is to prepare. Everything else falls in line. So
Yeah.
prepare. You've got to prepare properly. The other thing is they must know the subject matter in which they're going to speak. And based on that, they need to do proper and thorough preparation. Research. Okay? The other thing is that they have to know their audience. It is important that you know your audience. And when you know your audience, then you choose your text very well, you choose your quotations very well, and you choose your diction very well. Okay? Some persons get into trouble because they move away from context. They move away from the subject matter. And so they get caught up in emotions. Now, freedom of speech is important. And, there's a song that says, mouth make for chat. But in as much as that is so, and in as much as the Constitution speaks about freedom of speech, that is a qualified freedom of speech, because that is why we have the law of defamation.
I want to touch on that, but maybe we don't have enough time to go through that fully, sir, on this side of the break.
No, I won't go into the depth about defamation. I'm just saying that
not defamation, just the whole idea of freedom of speech, because I would like you to, on the other side of the break, if I may, Mr. Williams, ask you to elucidate, if you can, on freedom of expression vis-a-vis freedom of speech. I know they're often used interchangeably, but on the other side of the break, Mr. Williams. But listeners, do not go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:15 a.m.
Okay, class. What is the best way to collect back to school MoneyGram money transfers?
Miss.
Yes, Abigail.
Alliance, Miss.
Correct.
Pick up a minimum of US $150 at any Alliance agent for a chance to win back-to-school prizes. 3 winners per parish of a $40,000 book voucher, a Samsung tablet, or a $20,000 book voucher.
Tell me where you get the money transfer.
Alliance.
A member of Sagicor Group Jamaica. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
My kids are growing up in a rapidly changing world. They amaze me every day with their curiosity and passion for wanting to create a better future for us all. The government is investing in Jamaicans through the STEM scholarship program. Now, my kids have the opportunity to pursue studies in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to get certified as STEM professionals. And yours can too. Find out more at www.mof.gov.jm/scholarships. Sign up for a STEM scholarship today.
Follow Grace Sardine, flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody sell it. You all of them nice. Pass the part, me push it.
Grace Sardines follow the better flavor.
Me pull up at the gas station and the attendant come up.
87 or 90.
I don't know why him think I would put 87 in my new car. But me inside. But when him say
Cash or card?
me say, big man, why would I take my cash and buy gas? I pay for everything with my Sagicor Bank credit card. Grocery, gas, bills. Cause when you use your card, you get your reward. If I pay cash, you are gonna give me a reward.
We can wipe your windscreen.
Earn the best rewards ever with Sagicor Bank credit cards. Conditions apply.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, having a very interesting conversation with Byron Buckley, communications strategist and the owner and author of the blog PR Angle, and Anthony Williams, attorney at law. The topic is those PR nightmares, or those public relations PR nightmares. And we want to continue the discussion, and in particular to pose a question to Anthony Williams, attorney at law. Mr. Williams, just before the break, we were looking at the whole matter of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and the question I have for you, sir, is there a material difference or any distinction at all between freedom of speech and freedom of expression? Because the charter, Jamaica's Charter Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, at section 13.3c, speaks to freedom of expression. Mr. Williams.
Yes. Section 13.3 of the Charter uses the term freedom of expression. However, most people use the term freedom of speech and the freedom of expression interchangeably, But the fundamental difference between the speech and the expression is that the expression has a wider connotation. It has an extended boundary. Expression means you are expressing yourself. It can be in an art form. It can be in a musical performance. It can be by cartoon. It can be by caricature. It can be by magazine. While speech refers to oral. Therefore, it is very important for media practitioners or human resource media personnel to ensure that once you are giving your expression, the gesticulation, the use of body language, all those are expression. All right, and
Yes.
Stokeley, I could tell you a very bad language without using any words, and so my facial expression, or my the use of my fingers or my hands, or whatever, or even my eyes,
Yes.
Our grandma and our mothers can tell us, no, you're not going anywhere, or you will not get any more food, without saying one word.
Without saying one word.
Her stance, her posture, the look at her eyes, just says it all. That is the type of...
Or the arms. Are the arms akimbo? Things like that.
Yeah. So some of the failures of persons giving their speeches, because they do not recognize the significance of the difference between the expression and the speech. And I want to make it very clear, right, that the law of defamation is very live and well, and so persons must speak cautious, but not cautiously, but you must speak to the point where you do not defame anyone, you do not misquote, you do not misrepresent, and it comes back to what Baron is saying, right? Proper preparation is important, and you have to know your audience, because what may be a joke to one audience may certainly not be to another. It may be very offensive to the other.
Could be highly offensive.
Very, very highly offensive. I can tell you, this new generation here, I have 3 children, all girls, and it is amazing. I have been learning every day, and some new language, new speech, new jargons, and it is very important because you have to understand what it means.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very correct, sir. So just for clarity, Mr. Williams, freedom of speech is included within freedom of expression?
That is correct. Because as I said, the expression is inclusive,
wider than
artwork. It's wider than, yes. Speech is really oral. Yes.
Understood.
Expression includes artwork, the performing arts. It can include a caricature. It can include a magazine. It can include any other form of expression to bring across.
Yes, what is being communicated.
Yes. The same way how grandma or mommy will timber and tell you that, look here, man, you have been punished, and she hasn't said one word.
Yes. Mr. Buckley.
Yes, sir.
No, apologies. Oftentimes what we hear in the media after the error in the communication by the relevant person, individual, we might get an apology. And the question is, how much does the apology really correct what happened or rectify the situation? Or, make good, or, as Jamaicans will sometimes say, smooth things out.
Yeah.
Do the apologies really do the damage control, sir?
Yeah, Stokeley, before I respond to the apologies, quickly from what Mr. Williams said about the expression, it's interesting because sometimes the speaker is seeing in his direct audience a gesture or an expression by somebody And that's what takes him off script, and he's probably responding to it, which is what I suspect happened to the opposition leader, PDP leader, the other day. Sometimes somebody in your audience, maybe sort of say something, and you respond, but the indirect audience out there in the media doesn't hear that, and therefore totally misconstrues why you made that point. I wanted to make that very, very clear. Onto the matter of apologies. For an apology to have optimal effect, it must be issued, I believe, quickly and directly address the issue or the offending issue or statement at hand, and also the persons injured. I've seen an apology that recently has come out in two installments, because clearly the first one wasn't adequate, and the organization, I suspect, prompted the person. But if the apology had to be coaxed, and dragged out of the offender, it loses some of its value. And so it is, if you want to, people are forgiving. The public is generally forgiving too. If they know and sense that you're genuine, quickly right after the thing, quickly after the effect, not because somebody mentioned it, but you realize and you get up and you apologize. You speak, by the way, not skirting the issue. You have some apologies. If I offended anyone and all that kind of
conditional apology. That's a conditional apology.
Yes, that's not an apology. You need to say directly what happened, speak to the person and apologize. And in many instances, people accept that, certainly the public. But if you have to wrong out of you and half done and so on, then it doesn't have the maximum effect. Mark, I should say though, that I believe that even a poor apology is better than no apology. So you have some person saying them not apologize any at all. At least, we have on record an apology. We can analyze it, criticize it, but at least you came in and made an apology, which I think is better off from a PR perspective than no apology and no response at all.
So, Mr. Buckley, I mean, I'm not asking you to point to any specific scenario, but what do persons like yourself who are communication strategists typically go through when you have these things happening? Persons say what they should not say and you're doing damage control. Is it that you're all scuttling to figure out how to have this matter corrected? I mean, would that be this situation?
Yeah, in fact, in preparing to come on there, I think one of the questions I'd ask, in fact, if I was to respond to the one Mr. William responded to, there are times when deliberately a speaker will, fly a kite, make a controversial statement, but you're really trying to test public response. So already, strategically, you have the PR response if it didn't come off well, So you have to, but that is deliberate, even if it's something controversial. But you really want to test the public view on this, and so therefore you say it, but you already have prepared a response either way to manage that. But generally speaking, the apology quickly and right after is the way to go. Other things are required down the road. If it's a serious blunder you have made, it can't just be one apology. There are other things that you're going to need to do to make amends in terms of the damage that might have been done.
Because the public might be watching the individuals to see if they do it again or something similar again.
Right, and tone is important. Yes, expression, tone is important. Is it the first time you have done this or you're a repeat offender? All kind of other things come in and qualify the impact of the apology.
Very interesting. We have a couple seconds left. Mr. Williams, any final thoughts followed by you, Mr. Buckley? Mr. Williams?
Yes, Mr. Buckley has said it all, but for emphasis, the apology has to be issued quickly, and not to be forced. In other words, if persons are going to say, "Hey, you need to apologize," I mean, invariably persons will say that, and which is what caused the person to apologize, because they may have recognized that they were wrong. The apology needs to be very sincere. It must be genuine.
Must be
And most
sincere.
importantly, yes, it has to be
Genuine.
sincere. It must be genuine. People must know and recognize and appreciate if you really meant it. And another thing too, the apology should be fulsome. No,
fulsome.
Yeah, fulsome. It must be fulsome.
We're literally out of time already, but Mr. Buckley, anything you want to leave with us?
But that's one other thing, and the person giving the apology must also accept responsibility.
Accept responsibility,
Yeah.
Mr. Buckley.
Accept responsibility.
Yeah, man, I'm agreeing to all of that. It must be a genuine apology. It can't be coaxed and you wait until before three releases come out begging you to apologize, then you apologize. It has to be genuine and upfront. And has to be genuine.
I have to leave it there this morning, but I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts. Very interesting conversation. We need to have more conversations like this. Thank you, Mr. Buckley and Mr. Williams. Listeners, don't go anywhere at all. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Anything possible with a little savings in your hand.
The time by Jan Bank is
7:30.
Juicy plant-based body puts a smile on your face. With the deep bite that you take, makes you want to sing. Me can't believe I don't meet this, and what a sweetness. Juicy plant-based body full of flavor, can't done. Bite after bite, me want another one, yeah. It's vegan, it's healthy, grab yourself one, yeah. Come on, the juicy plant-based party at any juicy party location right now. Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Win over $1 million in cash and prizes in the Yummy Summer Competition. Purchase any 4 different Yummy pastries. Write your name and number on your receipt. Send in with your Yummy salesman or drop off at the nearest supermarket or Yummy agency. 28 weekly prizes, 4 winners every week, plus grand draw August 28th for a laptop. $60,000, $30,000, plus a Yummy basket and back-to-school vouchers. Grand prize, a family weekend for 4 at the Holiday Inn. It's the Yummy Summer Competition, authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Cinerose Chromium Plus is an all-natural herbal product formulated specially for people with type 2 diabetes. An elevated sugar level in the blood will lead to renal failure, damage to the brain, and amputation of your toes or feet, damage to the heart, stroke, ECT. Cinerose Chromium Plus will reduce the level of sugar in the blood, taking it down to normal, and protect you. To get your Cinerose Chromium Plus, call Havco Herbs and Extracts, 876-540-8871.
Make an impact on your career. Earn real money. Get 3 to 4 local and international certification in practical nursing and early childhood education with free CXC or CAPE subjects in 6 to 12 months at Distinction College, located at 26 Hagley Park Road, Kingston, 6 Nugent Street, Spanish Town, and Ocho Rios. Earn global certificates in 3 months in geriatric nursing, phlebotomy, childcare. We have the lowest school fees around. Classes begin very soon. Call us 356-4167.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, we have a headline. It reads, Eyes on Golding. PSOJ, that is the private sector organization of Jamaica, says ISAT Buchanan's sorry. Attorney at Law ISAT Buchanan's sorry, not enough. Well, I happen to know that Mr. Buchanan is an attorney at law, so I added attorney at law. But the headline actually reads, PSOJ says ISAT Buchanan's sorry, not enough. PNP president urged to apologize to Jamaica's women as well. We have in the Jamaica Observer, JDF veterans suffering, former members falling on hard times as pensions, retroactive funds not paid on time. This story by Elisa Dunkley Willis, a senior staff reporter at the Jamaica Observer. We turn to Loop Jamaica News. Gunmen dash from taxi as driver threatens to crash vehicle. One suspect held. Gunmen dash from taxi as driver threatens to crash vehicle. One suspect held. The crime situation in this country is really needs to be brought under more and more control. Very serious situations. We have here coming up next, we'll read the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is how free should free speech be? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment in our Facebook or YouTube Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes too. 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Christiana, guess what? You are the next stop for I Love Summer. Yes, this Saturday, August 5, Love 101 is coming to Christiana with a bag of niceness. Don't miss it.
I love it. I love summer. Oh, I love it.
Jamaica, Jamaica, Jamaica! The celebration of emancipation into independence continues, and this Wednesday, August 2 at 8 p.m., the Festival Village at the National Arena will showcase the finals of the Jamaica Gospel Star Competition. Come and find out who the winner will be. Then stay for Jamaica Praise Concert featuring Kevin Downswell.
All is grace, 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 grace from Ethiopia.
Jai Kingston. Cuckoo-doo.
You already washed in the blood of the Lamb. Say thank you, Jesus.
And others. Admission is free. Come on out for a night of worship and praise as we give God thanks for 61 years of fabulousness. Jamaica 61, proud and strong. This Wednesday, August 2 at 8 p.m. at the National Arena. Love 101 endorsed event.
You make me stronger. Oh, come on. Sir, you make me stronger.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's join Jakal to see how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. How free should free speech be? Jakal.
All right, so we do have a response here.
Any response? I think there's a is there. I think there's at least one response, Jakal.
Yes, we do. All right, so I'm going to be playing this one by Edna. Edna is in Montego Bay.
Good morning, Morning Watch. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. Yes, freedom of speech. Yes, I think freedom of speech should be to the greatest level. Yeah, we should be free to speak what is on our mind. But guess what? Speak with respect. Don't just throw anything that comes to our mind and do it out of anger and resentment. Speak it out loud and clear with respect. You're right in freedom of speech, but not because it's in freedom of speech, you just throw anything out there. No go so. As a phrase said, chew up your words before you speak them out. Yes, with respect.
And that is from Edna in Montego Bay. She says to be respectful. And that's the
Yes,
end of the response
yes,
here.
yes, yes. And you know, I hear persons sometimes challenging the extent to which we should have freedom of speech. And of course, we know that you need to be respectful, etc. But I have spoken to and I have heard persons speak in relation into being from countries or having lived in countries where they are not free to speak. And I think sometimes we underestimate the freedom that we have. You
Yes.
know, I very much value freedom of speech, freedom and freedom of expression, which is wider, as Mr. Williams pointed out to us in the first watch, because if you live in a country or in a place where you're not free to speak, you're really in bondage.
You're really in shackles, honestly.
Yes, you are in some invisible shackles. So we need to value freedom of speech while at the same time, not, as Edna correctly said,
Be respectful.
being respectful. Yes, very important. Very interesting first watch and very interesting feedback question. In fact, moving right into the second watch, still dealing with communications. Now, turning to emojis, which we see a lot in social media. Those little symbols, the happy looking emoji and the one that shows that you're laughing and the thumbs up emoji, those emojis. Will emojis be, well, how are people using these emojis? It is understood that people are even being taken to court, maybe not in Jamaica necessarily, but people are being taken to court over the use of emojis. Who knows, maybe in Jamaica as well. And these emojis are these emotive faces and symbols that we use when sending text messages, whether social media, when we're using social media, or even an email. You can send an email and there is an option sometime for you to include an emoji. Innocent symbols and thumbs up images can end up in court sometimes. And if it's a case of sexual harassment, or if it's a criminal case, it can even make things more complicated. All over the world is coming to that, it would appear. We have as our guest this morning to sort of drill down into these emojis, what they communicate, and the legal implications, if any, of these emojis. Mr. Sean McEwen, he's an information communications technology, creative development, and production manager. And he seems to wear more than one hat. We have him on this morning to help us discuss and look at this matter of emojis. We also have Anthony Williams, attorney at law, who was with us in the first watch and is back with us again in the second watch. Good morning, Mr. McEwen, and good morning again, Mr. Williams. How are you both?
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks again.
Good having you on. Jumping right into it. Now, let me just ask you squarely, starting with you, Mr. McEwen. Are people being overly sensitive when it comes to emojis? Is it that we are reading too much into these emojis? Why on earth should an emoji become something that becomes subject of a court action? I'm not saying there's anything to be oversensitive about, but do you think some people are overly sensitive, Mr. McEwen?
To say overly sensitive, well, first we have to understand that persons are different and persons impacted differently by
persons are different and they are impacted differently with what is
by the
communicated.
same stimuli. So I will have something. I have something. I say a 6, you say a 9. It's the same thing we're seeing, but both of us are impacted differently. So first we have to be conscious of that.
I'm so happy you said that. So happy you said that, sir. Hold on 1 second there, Mr. McEwen. Mr. Williams, any opening thoughts before we head to the break, sir? Are people being overly sensitive? Why are these things ending up in court, Mr. Williams?
Well,
the extent
first
that
of all,
they do.
yes, good morning to your listeners. Well, in the first program, we spoke about freedom of expression and freedom of speech. And so what is happening is that with the advance of information technology.
Hold that thought, Mr. Williams. The advance of information technology, listeners, keep those seatbelts on. We'll be right back on the morning watch.
Praise sardine for the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that are the winner. Shop on supermarkets, everybody
Praise
sell it.
sardines, follow the better flavor.
The time is 7:45 a.m.
Touching lives every day, so many different ways, a part of all you do. Sagicor will make you feel secure, reaching out for more, will always see you through. Reach for more, whatever you're dreaming, whatever your goals, will help you achieve them. You're never alone. Taking care of today's needs, take care of tomorrow's dreams. Every day helping you succeed, that's what Sagicor means. Today's needs, tomorrow's dreams. Sagicor.
There's certain moments in life you'll cherish forever. Like buying your first car, stepping into your first home, sending your child to university, starting that business you've always dreamed of. These are your great moments, and helping you achieve them is ours. Call Chris and Charles today. We have a loan for all the great moments in your life. Powering great moments since 1992. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Summertime, a time for juice, time for party, time for cut loose. Children play every day, run road trip and not get away. Choose, when you feeling the heat, chill with the friends and the vibes sweet. Choose, feeling up, try chill with the whole family and kick back on a bill. Summertime, a time for juice, time for party, time for cut loose. Choose goodness wherever, whenever. Choose.
Refreshing your space should be a breeze. And at Active Home Center, we have made it easy by having what you need all in one place. Shop the largest selection of tiles, bathroom fixtures, lighting, doors, and more. Visit us at 84 Conklin Spring Road in Kingston, or check out our newly opened location in Freeport, Montego Bay. Come speak with our in-house experts and hit refresh on your space. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
For 51 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program is brought to you on Tuesday by the Tourism Product Development Company Limited, enhancing and developing Jamaica's tourism product. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are on the second watch, having a very interesting discussion with Mr. Sean McEwan, Information Communications Technology Creative Development and Production Manager, and Anthony Williams, Attorney at Law. The topic is misunderstanding emoticons or emojis. Mr. Williams, just before the break, sir, you were pointing out that a lot of these things are happening because of the age we are in, whereby there is a lot of use of communications technology. Please continue, Mr. Williams.
Yes. So what I want to say to the public, your listening public, is that 20, 30 years ago, certainly when you and I were in school, we didn't have the use of a cell phone. We went to university and, advanced educational training. And we didn't have the use of a cell phone. What we're seeing is the advance of technology is such that it is demonstrating different ways in which persons can communicate. So the essence is not so much the emojis. The essence is really communication. So how do you communicate to your audience? How do you communicate with the recipient of your message? And so it is important that we use the right language, we use the right diction, and with advanced technology, emojis become very important. I'm going to give an example. I was in a WhatsApp group very quickly, and this person was telling the group about where he works, and he works at a particular organization that does testing for HIV, and he says most of his testing has to do with men. Now, someone in the group reposted and said, well, Mr. So-and-so, you are now the anal expert. Well, the person was obviously offended. Many other persons in the group were offended. But there were others who were not offended because they recognized that it was a joke. But the absence of an emoji or the presence of an emoji would have made a real difference. So the emojis are really serving to communicate a smile, a disapproval, an agreement, a cheers. So it has to do with your expression. And remember, expression has to do with the art, a cartoon, a magazine, a musical expression, whatever it is. So in using the emoji, we're actually communicating the language that we really want that person to know.
Very interesting, Mr. Williams, that, in terms of what you just said, because sometimes I think what we need to be doing more often, my thought, is just pick up the phone and speak to the person verbally. Yeah, or you meet the person and talk to them. Can I say the good old-fashioned way?
Yeah, I must also say this too.
Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Long before the advancement of emojis, the world have emojis already. We have our silent emojis. And what are the silent emojis? Long before technology. When our mother and grandmother tells us, no, you're not going to get that extra money, or you're not going to the theater, or you're not going to go to that match, or you're not going to do this or that, all she needs to do is just stand up and timber. All she needs to do is roll her eyes. All she
roll
needs
her
to do
eyes.
Is roll her eyes, and she kimber.
Roll her eyes.
As a matter of fact, she has the belt or the stick in the hand, and she's just spinning up and down. She hasn't touched her one bit. So what I'm trying to say is that emojis have long been in existence before the advancement of technology. But I'm referring to the ancient type of emojis. Yes, the emojis that deals with awareness. Okay, right? Not the technological, emojis. So they've been in existence a long time, long time.
Understood, sir. Understood, sir. Mr. McKeown, you've been hearing us?
Yes.
Any comments, sir?
All right. So first of all, we have to remember what emojis are and what purpose they serve. It's just like patois. You're trying to condense a conversation, a longer sentence, with a shorter thing, which is just an image. Because emojis were invented like in 1999 when we never had so much characters and message when we're doing messages on computers. So that was on the basis of the development. So part of the issue now that we have is that we have to understand that once they're non-verbal, there are likely to be misunderstanding. Miscommunication is very possible.
Slow down. Don't say that so quickly, sir. Slow down a little bit. Once it is non-verbal, as in an emoji, it is likely to.
You're likely
to be misunderstanding.
So even miscommunication. So even with the example that was given a while ago, with regard to the person, there could still be persons who are not accepting or misconstrue the communication, even with the insertion of an emoji, and some may even take it to be a little bit more even offensive. So my thing is that I would suggest, based on the conversation, the environment that you're in, that is when you would make a determination to win. If you're going to use an emoji for professional purposes, professional communication, I would say no. I've worked in government for a long time, and what I've learned is to always be clear in the communication. And with emojis, you are likely to communicate something that is not necessary. Or somebody might get from their communication what you're communicating. Sorry, that's what's not intended. So you intended something, but they picked up something else based on just the insertion of a the emoji. So it's good to be clear in the communication, no matter what it is.
No, Mr. Williams, I know this is new to many of us, but Jamaican law, using emojis, communication which is unclear, getting people into trouble, landing them in court. Any general comments, Mr. Williams?
Yes. Let me start with our criminal laws. There is no law of our land which speaks to the use of emojis in relation to establishing a crime. But certainly, with the advance of technology, with new interpretations of messages, it can certainly work. Now, when two or more persons are charged for a criminal offense and the prosecution intend to prove common design means that they were acting together, they were acting in concert. So you'll have one person as a lookout man, one person as the driver with the getaway car, one person who actually does the physical stabbing, killing, shooting, etc. The law says if the person on the outside is given a signal, he hasn't said one word, but he's given a signal to indicate to the others, okay, it is now time to execute the crime. All those are emojis, not in the technological sense. And so what I'm trying to say is that in our criminal laws, any conduct which is regarded as tacit, but you participate, then the law classifies that as agreeing or participating or condoning the action of the other. In fact, if you see someone murdering another person and you are right there present on the scene, your presence was not accidental, and you did absolutely nothing, the law regards that as encouraging or enticing the perpetrator. So even in contracts, to establish a contract, there must be an agreement, there must be offer, there must be acceptance. If you put up an emoji, you put up a clap, whatever in the context, it can be seen as accepting the contract. So the whole question,
or a thumbs up or something like that.
Oh yes, a thumbs up. Yes, or a thumbs up, right? So as my guest said, the essence is to ensure that you are communicating properly, you are communicating accurately, and so that you are not misleading the person, right? And so you select the proper emoji. Another problem we're having is that some persons do not understand the different types of emoji. So I may send you an emoji with a certain signal expression. I meant one thing and you interpret it as another. You interpret it as being offensive. So one of the challenges that we face is the misunderstanding, the misinterpretation, and the lack of knowledge of what a particular emoji means. And it can cause a problem.
Very interesting. We are literally out of time already, so I'll give both of you gentlemen some, indicate to us your final thoughts, starting with you, Mr. McEwen, and then Mr. Williams. Mr. McEwen, any final thoughts?
Well, the only thing I would say is just we can't take it out of the culture or whatever it is now, because that is where technology has brought us for the use of emojis and emoticons, because that is just what it is. So it's for us to be mindful and be clear. What I do a lot of the time, if I don't understand somebody, I may ask you a question and you send back an emoji. I simply ask you, what does this mean? Because
just ask the person, what does this mean? I'm going to ask you to just leave it there because of time. Only because of time, Mr. McEwen, Mr. Williams. Any final thought?
Yes, my final thought is to persons, just be careful of how you use your language. Be careful of your selection of the emoji. And as Mr. Yuan said, if you're not sure, ask the person. And give the person a call, especially if they are hurt in the improper use of an emoji.
Understood. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts, Mr. McEwen and Mr. Williams. And listeners, thanks for being with us. And of course, please, in terms of staying in touch with us, in terms of this program, join us again tomorrow as we look at other topics and controversial issues. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, download our Love 101 app. Remember that we are the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marsh behind the back of the morning with Chukal.
The Morning Watch was brought to you by Chris and Charles Investments. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.